Hello beautiful ones, and welcome back to this channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. So guys, why men are still sleeping, I got up to make this beautiful dress because it's a gift to my little niece. So I'll be delivering this dress later today to her. So you can hear the cock crow in the background, meaning that this is early morning. Okay, so while people are still on their bed sleeping, I got up to make this beautiful dress, and I decided to film it so that you too can learn. Okay, so without wasting too much time, we'll get started. And these are the fabrics I need. Okay, the upper part of the dress will be lace, and the lower part would have satin and net. So we want to cut the, we want to cut the satin. Yeah, like I said, the upper part will be net, lace, but the underlay would be satin. So I'll place my fabric on fold and cut out the bodice. Okay, so I've actually done tutorials on board dresses here, but I also decided to show you this one as well. Okay, so the initial plan for this dress was to make it with sleeve, so I recorded everything, so I'm not going to delete that part, even though I changed the style later on to sleeveless, but I'll still show you how to make the ball dress with sleeve and how to sew your sleeve and everything. So you're going to see all that. So this very video is just like the making of this ball dress, like let's just call it the making of this ball dress. Okay, so you just see the process and the changes that came up later on. So guys, let's kick off. So I was just looking at my satin to see how I would set it, okay, where to use. So now I have placed the fabric on fold. So I folded it based on the round bodice of the child, okay, plus seam allowance 1 inch. I usually use just 1 inch seam allowance in both dresses, okay. So actually this very child is not present here with me, but I used what is it called, size chart. Okay, so I have a very accurate size chart, so I'll be leaving the picture of that on my community tab, so you can check it out later on. So I am using the size chart for this child. So on that size chart you have different age range, so from like 6 months to 1 year, like that different. So I saw her size there, so that's her age range there, so I'm using what is on that chart to make this dress for her. So right now I just want to draw a line at the top for our starting point. Okay, so these are starting points. I have folded the fabric, remember, based on the round bodice measurement plus seam allowance. So now I'm taking the length of the bodice, that's the length of the upper part. Okay, so I hope you can see what I marked. There's actually 10 plus 1 for joining this upper part and the lower part, that is 11 inches. So I'm just going to draw a line there. So this is just what we need for the upper part. So by the time I have done this, the next thing is to place my shoulder measurements. Yes. So the shoulder is 10 inches, but divide by 2, that is 5 inches. So you add half inch for joining the sleeve. Okay, so that is what I marked there. Now for the neck width, for child of this age, the neck width is 2.5. Yeah, 2.5. And the neck depth is 2.75. So I'm just going to mark that. Okay, so now I would step down by ½ inch at the shoulder here. That's where I mark the shoulder. I'm stepping down by ½ inch for the shoulder slope. So for kids, we use ½ inch. For adults, we use 1 inch. So you connect that to the neck width and you create your neckline as well. So I'm just using round neckline, okay, just round. So you can use whatever design you like, okay. So having done this right now, we would place our armhole depth. Yeah, so from that slope, you measure your armhole, that is, place your armhole depth. So the same measure I use for the shoulder is what I would use for the armhole depth. So it works, it's standard. Yeah, the same measurement for the shoulder divided by 2 is what you also use for your armhole depth. So mine is 5 inches. Remember, the shoulder is 10 inches. Divided by 2, that is 5 inches. So sometimes we add ½ inch for ease, sometimes we just leave it that way. So whichever one. So I marked 5 inches there for the armhole depth, and I am extending the line. Okay, so at this point would place the, I just want to cover the armhole. Yes, but normally, what you should do is to place the chest measurements. So if it's for adult, we'll say the bust circumference divided by 4. So here is the round bodice or chest divided by 4, whichever one you're using. I prefer using the round tummy, which is normally bigger than their chest most times, so that the dress will just fit the child from up to down anyhow. So I marked the same measurement there. that is the round bodice divided by 4. Then I added 1 inch seam allowance. Okay, so that is 1 inch seam allowance, and I connect. So that is just it. So you just connect this way, create your armhole, and this is simply what we need. So I also like adding 1/2 inch at the top for that is 1/2 inch at the shoulder area. But right now I'm just cutting it. When I get there, I would cut out that 1/2 inch. The 1/2 inch for joining the shoulder at the joining the dress at the shoulder. So let's cut and see. So you can see me extending my hand above that line. Okay, so that is the 1/2 inch just for joining the dress at the shoulder, so that won't alter our neckline and the armhole. So if you have been following me, you know that I do that. Okay, so we're cutting our bodice, and this is simply what we have. This is simply what we have. So this is actually the underlay for the lace. Yeah, this will be under the lace. So let's fold our fabric again and cut the back. Yeah, so let's cut the back. Okay, so this fabric is just like remainder from previous bodice. So I'm using it to make a gift for my little niece. So I folded my fabric and I'm going to place the front. Okay, so when you place your front, you give space for your zipper allowance. So this is my 1 inch zipper allowance. Okay, so that is just arrange it neatly, and you would go ahead to create your neckline. Yeah, so this is it. So for the back neckline, I'll be using a V neckline. So I'm just marking out the actual shoulder length. That's the actual point where we had our shoulder. So it's from that point now I would measure what I want for my V neckline. So I don't want to go so deep. Yeah, it's a child, I don't want to expose all her back. So that is the measurement I took there, and then I'll connect it. Okay, so you make sure you connect your neck depth to your neck width. The width has to be the same for the front and the back, but the neck depth can be different. Okay, so the neck depth for my front was just round neck, and the one for the back is V neck, but the width are the same measurements, which is 2.5. So I'm just cutting everything as it is. The armhole, the length is just the neckline that would be different. Okay, the neck design. Yeah, so having done this right now, I would mark out the V-neck. I remove the front. Now that is the point I made at the width and at the depth. So I'll connect it and create my V neckline. As simple as this. Okay, and go ahead and cut it out. Very, very simple. Yes, so now we'll open it up for zipper, and we have it there. So these are back. Okay, so by the time we have gotten this, we're going to cut our lace. Yeah, I'm using this beautiful lace. So like I said, the satin is the underlay. So there's a way I want to place it so that this design will just appear at the lower part of the bodice, at the lower part of the bodice. And the initial plan was that the edge of this lace would sit on the gathers, or that would sit on the skirt part of the bodice. Okay, that was the initial plan. So I arranged it in such a way that I will stitch it, top stitch this later on the lower part. But there was change of plan, which you would see later on. So what I did was this: I just cut out, I want this underlay to just stop somewhere around here. Okay, so just follow and see exactly what I'm going to do in case you want to make a style like this. So I'm going to fold the satin, it frays. I'm going to like hem this lower part. Then I would place it on the lace like this, but the lace will be at the top, and the edge of the lace would just, be a little bit longer than the satin itself. So it's not just going to be like I'm merging up everything, to be the same. So this edge would pop out a little bit, so that later on I would now top stitch it on the lower part of the bodice, which is like the gathers and all that. Okay, so that's what I want to achieve initially before I change the style. Just follow and you'll see everything. Like I said, this video is just like the making of this bodice and what it turned out to be later on. Okay, so now I want to cut out what I need from the lace. I'm not just going to cut out the shape as it is on the satin. Okay, so there's something I learned. If you want to match up your lace and the underlay, don't go ahead to just cut it exactly, or else when you're joining it, there will be issues. So let the lace be a little bit bigger. Then by the time you have meshed it up, everything will just align. Like this is what I'm going to do. Stitch the neckline and the armhole together, just like this. Remember, the satin is the underlay. Just this is how it's going to be, okay? So I would also cut out the back in the same way, not just cutting the shape as it is, but just having a little excess, okay? So note that when you're cutting lace that you would use for blouse or something, and you want to place the underlay, so it's advisable you first of all cut the underlay, which is usually satin. Then you go ahead and cut something a bit bigger than the satin from the lace. Then you go ahead to match them up to become one piece. So that's what I'm trying to do here, and I'm arranging it the way I want it to be. So this is the back bodice, just like what I did for the front. And the edge of the lace would be a bit longer than the underlay, so I can top stitch on the lower part later on. So now I'll just go ahead and cut out what I know would be enough. So not just following the shape of the satin. Then by the time I take it to my sewing machine, I can now stitch following the shape of the satin, and whatever excess I have from my lace, I will trim it up. So in that way, I will not have any issues. Yeah, everything will sit. But if you go ahead and cut your lace just the same way the satin is, when you're trying to join it, some laces are stubborn, some are stretchy, they just have different attitude, different characters, okay? So when you're trying to stitch it, you will now start seeing some funny things, some shape coming up, some stretchy, some everything. So that's why I just like making sure the lace is a bit bigger than the shape. Then you just take it to your sewing machine and you do the magic, by joining the both of them to become one piece. So that is what I'm going to do, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done stitching it, okay? So I've stitched it, and I went ahead to also sew belt. Yeah, because since I didn't take the measurement of this child, I decided to add belt, okay? For now, this is what I've done. So you can see that I've matched up the satin and the lace, and it has become one piece. Yeah, it has become one piece. You can see now, and everything is sitting nicely. So for the belt, it's just going to be tied at the back alone. The belt will not be in front like I've shown in some other board dresses I've made. But for this one, because of the lace, we don't want to use this belt to cover the lace. So the belt measures 2 inches. So I stepped up from the lower part by 1 inch before stitching this belt to it. So it will now go back. It will go to the back. You can see it will be tied at the back, okay? So you can see what I have here. I stepped up by 1 inch so that we can have space for joining this upper part to the lower part of the dress. Yeah, okay, good. So that is just it, so that I can join it. And you can see the way I stitched this satin here. So I didn't use it to cover the whole edge of the lace. So, and I matched up everything, and you can see how beautiful it is looking. I did same for the back, so you can see. So this was what I was trying to explain. If you want to match up your lace and your lace, that's what you should do. So this other piece you're seeing here is the lining. So I'm also using satin for the lining, okay? So now we want to go ahead to stitch. And like I've always said here, if you want to achieve inseam finishing when you're making a ball dress, you're going to stitch your satin to satin, the main fabric to the main fabric, okay? Yeah, that is what I usually do. Your satin to your satin, or lining to lining, and main fabric to main fabric. And you're going to stitch that at the shoulder. Yes, just at the shoulder for now. Okay, so the initial plan of this dress was that it will have sleeve. It will have sleeve. So I'll show you how to go about the sleeve. And by the time I change the style to sleeveless, you're also going to see what I will do to the armhole. So keep watching. Yeah, guys. So now I have joined my fabric at the shoulder, as you can see. Yes, this is what it looks like, and this is the lining. So remember, the underlay is different from what you're using to line. The underlay is to make your lace not to be transparent. So now we're joining the lining to the main fabric like this, good sides facing each other. Yes, so you make sure good sides are facing each other. You place them this way. So normally, if it was to be sleeveless, we're going to stitch the armhole. But now we're not stitching the armhole, we're only stitching the neckline. Yes, only the neckline, leaving the armhole open because we want to join sleeve. Okay, so don't forget, if it was to be sleeveless, you're going to stitch up this armhole. we're going to stitch it up. I've done a series of videos on that, but we are leaving it open in this case because the initial plan is for it to have sleeve. So for me to go ahead and stitch, I'll just, tuck in my belt. But for now, what we're stitching is actually the neckline, not the armhole and every other part, just the neckline. So let's go ahead, stitch our neckline, and I'll show you the next thing to do, okay? So guys, I have stitched the neckline, and you can see this, okay? So what I'll do now is to notch it. Yeah, I'm going to notch the neckline. So notch, 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 but notch carefully not to cut on your seam, okay? All right, I'm done notching. So this is what we have. Now we're just going to turn it to the other side. Yeah, we're just going to turn it. So I'm actually trying to explain that if you had stitched up the armhole and the neckline, so you're just going to turn it from the shoulders like this, okay? So in case you're making sleeveless, this is how you turn it by the time you have stitched up your armhole and neckline. But in this case, the armhole is open, so just turn it. It's just easy, okay? So don't forget, like I said, if you have stitched up your armhole and your neckline, if you're making sleeveless, I don't know, some of you have not watched my previous video. That's why I'm actually taking time to explain this. But for those that have watched my videos on bodice, they would understand what I'm saying here, okay? So now we'll just turn because we didn't stitch the armhole. But if you had done that, it would, you would turn through that shoulder, the space in the shoulder there. That's where you just bring out everything to the other side, to the good side. Okay, so I'll be leaving links in the description box to other videos I've made so that you can go ahead and watch them later on after watching this one. Okay, so now I have turned to the good side. I'm just going to press it, give it a good press, okay, from this inner side. I'm going to iron it because I don't want to iron on the lace, so I'm going to iron from this inside so that everything would be smooth. Okay, so let me do that. Yes, so you carefully iron the neckline, iron it out, and this is it, okay? Good. So now it's time to close up the sides. So I'm just going to place it this way. Now I would take off, that is, I would place this belt in such a way that it will not interfere when I'm stitching up the sides. So you can see the way I'm placing it inside now. So you might ask, why this belt here? This, I want this belt to just be tied at the back. So that's why I fixed it to the front like this. I just stitched it to the front like this. So that when I'm done making the dress, it will just be tied at the back, okay? So in other tutorials that I've made, I finished sewing the dress, then prepare the belt separately. Then it will go across from the front to the back. But this one will just be tied only at the back. So this is how I place the belt so that it will stay out of the way when I'm stitching the sides, okay? It will just be out of the way. So that is why I am pinning it down here, okay? So I'm done placing my belt down. Now I'm going to fold it over like this and I'll stitch the side. So we want to achieve neat finishing inside. We're not just going to, fold it like that and just stitch. No. So this is what I do. I pick the main fabric to main fabric like this. That's the back and front, and I'll stitch it up here. Then I also pick the lining and I'll stitch it up in the same way, okay? So I'm trying to explain this again so you understand. Main fabric to main fabric like this, then lining to lining like this, okay? So I will stitch by the 1 inch that I took for my seam allowance. Yeah, so when you place it this way, you would stitch by that seam allowance you took while cutting. Okay, so that is just how to do it to achieve neat finishing, inseam finishing. So by the time we are done stitching it, you'll see what we have. Let me do just that. So I have stitched it, as you can see, lining to lining, main fabric to main fabric, and this is what it looks like inside. You can see that the seams are hidden. Okay, so this is simply how to go about your inseam finishing, but our shoulder is still open and rough because we didn't close the shoulder. If I had closed the shoulder, you would have seen, it would have revealed a very clean finishing there. But like I said, we'll be adding sleeve. Okay, so when you have done this, just open it up and give it a good press. Yeah, just press it. Want it to just, be open. Want the seam to be open. So open it up and give it a good press. You're also going to do same for the other side. Yeah. So I'm removing the pins that are holding down the belt. So just open it up now and give it a good press. So you can see how the belt is sitting inside right now, in between, the back and the front. So that is just how to go about it. Okay. So by the time you have done this, merge it up. Yeah, merge it up. So what will be left now will be for us to fix our sleeve, fix the lower part, fix our zipper, and all this will be done in a very neat way that nothing at all, no roughness will touch the baby. Yeah, that is how I make my ball dress. Everything sits in such a way that the inner part of the dress can even be worn like, yeah, inseam finishing, and nothing rough will touch the baby. Yeah, no seam, nothing. So this is it, okay? And this is just like half part of this dress is done. Yes, when you're done with the bodice like this, you know you have done half part of it. So you notice that the zipper area is still open. Yeah, we're going to work on that later. It's part of the process to achieve neat finishing. Okay, so this is how it's going to be, and the belt would come over to the back. So just trying to arrange it for you to see how it's going to sit, and you can see our V neckline. Okay, you can see the V neckline. So, and the belt would come over like this and be tied just at the back. So why I like adding belt is, to kids ball dress, so that you can use it for fitting. In case the ball dress is a bit bigger than the child, you can always use the belt for fitting. By the time you tie the belt around the waist, it brings it together to the child's body, and everything will just fit. So that's why I don't miss placing belt on kids ball dress. Okay, so now we want to create our sleeve. We're going to measure around this armhole. So just measure it from one point to the other. So measure around like this from one point to the other. So when measuring, you just have to measure carefully. You don't rush, so that the sleeve will just be accurate and fitting perfectly like you would see. So I have measured, and what I got there is 12 inches. Okay, so I'm going to cut out what I need for my sleeve from the lace, and also cut out satin for the underlay. Yeah, because I'm going to line it up. I'm going to actually use underlay for this lace, because like I said, nothing rough must touch the child. I don't want the kid to be uncomfortable when she's putting on this dress. So I'm still going to use underlay for this. So this is actually what I have, and I know I'll be able to get my sleeve from it. So I folded in such a way that I will get the 2 sleeve from it. So after folding, luckily I have up to 6 inches. The round armhole was 12, so you have to divide that by 2. Okay, to place that is what you will use to fold your fabric for your sleeve. So you should have up to 2, like the 12 divided by 2 is 6, right? So I'm supposed to have like 6 inches plus allowance for stitching it. So that's what I've folded there. So now I'm also going to take the length of my sleeve, and that's what I'm measuring now. So I'm measuring from this edge, because I want this lace part to be down, to be the edge of the sleeve. Okay, so, and that is the length of the sleeve I'm marking here. Yeah, this is the length. So just whatever length of sleeve you want for your dress, just mark it. So this is the length of the sleeve. Okay, and I would go ahead to cut it out. So this is the kid's sleeve. There's no so much drafting. So I'm actually marking out the length of the sleeve. So that's the length of the sleeve there. So I'm cutting it out. So for this sleeve to fit properly, I won't just do anyhow there. I'm just going to follow the normal way we cut sleeve. So I'm stepping down by 2 inches for the sleeve cap. Yeah, for the sleeve cap height. For kids, you don't need much. 2 inches. This child is 5 years old. So when we're making for adults, we use the bust measurement. We determine the sleeve cap height with the bust measurement. So for kids, 2 inches is okay. So I'm just going to, curve it like that. But before that, we're making a line from this point to this point. Remember I said I'm not just going to cut this sleeve just anyhow. Normally would have just make that curve sharp, cut everything, but I am actually following the process of making a basic sleeve, so that this sleeve would fit in perfectly. So connect from this point to that point, then find the midpoint of it. So I'm just trying to make sure my lace is aligned, because I'm cutting the 2 sleeves at once. So I'm measuring this slanted line, and I'm going to mark the midpoint of it. Yeah, this is the process of making a basic sleeve. Remember, mark the midpoint of it, and at that midpoint, I'm going to step up by ½ inch. Still aligning my fabric, because you might be wondering what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm just making sure that this fabric align. And normally, I pin down whatever I'm doing. Yeah, so just pin it. When your fabric refuses to cooperate with you, pin it down. Yeah, use pin to hold it down, so that it will stay in place while you work on it. And that is just what I have done. So now at this midpoint, I stepped up by 1/2 inch. I'm going to make a curve to this point and lower curve to that point. So this is just a basic sleeve. From that midpoint, you curve up towards, like, you know, you go up like this. See, from that midpoint, you go down to touch the edge of your sleeve. Then you cut. Yeah, so it is simple. Hope you're learning something. And at this point, if you haven't given this video a like, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't done so. Hit on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, okay, so that you will not miss out any video whenever I upload. So what I want to place now is the round sleeve. Yeah, the round sleeve of the child, where the sleeve would end, divide by 2. So that is what I'm placing now, plus 1/2 inch for seam allowance. Okay, so this is it, and you connect. So when you connect, you just cut it out and you have your sleeve. Still aligning my fabric, very, very necessary, very important. So this is just it, and I'll go ahead and cut it. All right, so you can see what we have here. This is our sleeve. So right now I'll cut out the underlay for it. Yeah, I'll cut out the underlay. So just the same way I explained that when you're cutting out your lace to be placed on underlay, the two fabrics should not be the same. Like this shape I have here now, if I use it to cut the underlay, when stitching it together to make it one piece, it would have issues. So whichever one you have cut first, if it's the satin you used, make sure your lace is bigger. If it is the lace you have cut, make sure your satin is bigger. Okay, so like I said, the lace is a bit rough. I don't want to leave it like this because nothing rough should touch the child. So that's why I'm going to cut underlay for it, and I'll just stitch it close to the edge so that this edge would remain the way it is. Okay, so I'll cut my satin and merge it up to become one piece, and that is exactly what I have done. So you can see from the one that I have not stitched, you can see that the satin is a bit bigger. Right now I would trim it, so it's better that way. Better to always have excess than to have shortage. So when you have placed it this way, stitched your satin all around, you can now trim out your excess and everything will sit nicely, rather than, you know, having issues along the way. So that is just simply what I have here. So I'll go ahead and trim it out. Okay, so after trimming out the excess, it's now time to fold, and you stitch by your seam allowance. So you see what I did? I folded the satin and I stitched it down there so that the edge can just be free like this without any satin poking out of that edge. So you place it on fold this way, you go ahead and stitch by your seam allowance. Okay, so after stitching, you're going to turn it to the good side and you merge it up. Okay, so guys, I have trees all around my house, so you'll be hearing sound of birds, and this is early morning. Okay, you know, they rest on trees in the night. In the morning like this, they go out to look for their food. So now we want to merge our sleeve and our armhole. So what I usually do, because the sleeve, the main fabric and the lining are separate right here, as you can see, I usually merge it, go ahead and stitch them together so that it will just be one piece this way. So when you're fixing your sleeve, you won't have any issues. Okay, so that's what I do. Now you can see my sleeve and the armhole, everything matching up. So this is the reason I said I'm not just going to cut my sleeve anyhow. I follow the basic way of cutting sleeve, and this is why it meshed perfectly. Okay, so you can see what I have here, everything aligning. Now we'll go ahead to stitch it. Now I know for beginners, like, how do I go ahead to stitch up this sleeve? So that is what I want to show you now. Okay, so I've stitched up my armhole. You can see it has become one piece with the lining, nothing to disturb me when I'm stitching the sleeve. So you can see, okay, so you can see how neat and beautiful it is there now. So it's time to merge it up with the sleeve. Okay, so let me show you how to go about that. So now turn your dress to the wrong side, and your sleeve should remain at the right side, at the good side, like this. Okay, so we are going to fit, insert it inside this way. Okay, when you're inserting it, make sure the armhole area is matched to the armhole area, the shoulder area is matched to the shoulder area. Just by looking at what I'm doing, you understand. So you insert it this way. Okay, don't forget the good side of your fabric. So this is what I'm explaining now. The shoulder should match with the shoulder, just like this. You insert it and merge it up at the shoulder here. So now I would pin it down. I would pin it down here. So when you pin it down here, also go ahead and pin it at the other end as well. That is this armhole side. So you just match up this point and this point. Merge it up or merge it up. Okay, so just pin. Yeah, pin it. You can go ahead and pin up every other part. Yeah, you can decide to just pin everything. Then when you take it to your sewing machine, it becomes very easy for you to stitch down. Yes, you just go ahead and stitch it all around like this. Yes, just stitch and you will be revealing a very beautiful sleeve by the time you're done. Okay, so let me do that. And one more thing, after stitching your sleeve, you're going to finish up this area with bias tape. Okay, because normally when you're done stitching, it will be rough, so it will reveal a rough edge. So what you will do, you will now use a bias tape to finish it up, to stitch it up, to hide the rough edge. Okay, you're going to stitch it up with bias tape, and when you're done, you'll be having your sleeve like this. Okay, and that is just it. So go ahead and stitch. All right, guys, it is time to change my plan. Initially, I intend making this dress with sleeve, but I changed my mind for a reason. Okay, perhaps I should tell you the reason. Remember, I didn't measure this child. I'm using chart. Okay, so, and I want this dress to fit this child for a long time. If it's sleeveless, it will fit her for a long time. But if it has sleeve, along the way, the sleeve might become tight for her. So that's why I decided to change my mind. So this is a gift I'm giving to my niece. So right now, you can see what we have. I usually, if I'm making sleeveless dress, I make it in such a way that the armhole and everything would be in seam. But in this case, we're not going to achieve that anymore because we've already gone ahead to stitch up what we already have here. So for the armhole now, it is rough, it is open. What are we going to do to it? So I'm going to use bias tape to finish it. And even the lower part of this dress, I actually changed the style I had for it initially. I wanted to just use satin, but now I'm going to add nets. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do it. Yes, just keep watching. So we'll get back to the armhole later on, but for now I have cut out the flare for the lower part, so I'll be using net and satin. So for my satin, I have 180-degree flare here. Yeah, I like using 180-degree for kids because there's kind of fitting it gives. So if you don't know how to cut 180-degree flare, the link will be in the description box. And this is the lace, the net I'll be using on it. That is two net. Okay, so for the length of my flare, it is the total length of the dress minus the upper bodice, and that is the length of the flare. So right now I would go ahead to work on this. Okay, back to our armhole. So this is the bias tape that I have. I just want to show you this before I proceed to the lower part. Okay, so you're just going to place your bias tape like this. So most times when I do video, I just have beginners in mind. That is why I go ahead to explain and explain and explain. Okay, even to the smallest thing. So now I'll just place my bias tape this way from the outer side of the dress, as you can see. So just watch what I'm doing. And I'm pinning it down just to show you how I would stitch it. So you don't necessarily need to pin, but this pin just indicates that this is how I'll stitch it. And after stitching, I'll turn it inward like this. Then I would top stitch. Okay, so in that way, the bias tape will just be inside like this, and at the outer part, the only thing you can see is the thread. So you're going to use a matching color thread to do this. Okay, so it won't be too visible. So that is simply how to go about your bias tape. Okay, and you do this all around from one end to the other. Yeah, just go around that way. So that is just simply how to use your bias tape to finish up your armhole to have a very good and neat work. So fast forward to the lower part. So this is my 180-degree flare, like I've said before. I'm going to work on my net. Okay, so normally this is what I wanted, just satin and the lace. It will just add this is what I actually wanted to create, but on a second thought, I decided to just add net to it to make it look more tush, more expensive, more every because it's a gift. So I want them to see that yes, I did something. So I'm now going to work on it. So I want the net to be a bit full, so I'm using up to 5 yards of net. This is a 5-year-old girl, and I'm going to use up to 5 yards of net. So right now what I'll do now is to arrange my net. You can see how scattered it is. I'll go ahead to fold it in such a way that it will be easy for me to cut out the length that I need. Yes, I'll go ahead and fold. So let me do that and you'll see it. So I have folded my net. Yeah, actually folding net this way is not that easy, neither is it hard. But it's something you can actually call somebody to help you. You hold it and you just fold and fold until you have gotten a desired folds that will be easy for you to cut out the length you need for your dress. Okay, so I'm trying to align it up at this edge so that I can place my measurement from that point. I'm just aligning everything. I want the edges to be equal there, though everything might not really align. You can trim off those that refuse to align, like you can see. Okay, so after arranging it, I'm going to trim it off. So right now, I just want to cut off those other excesses that are there, that I can have an even edge to measure from. So that is simply what I'm doing. So I'm cutting out these ones that are not aligning, and I have an even edge, as you can see. So from this point now, I will take my measurement. I will take the length of the lower part. Remember, the full length of the dress is around 48 or so. I'm not yeah, the full length of the dress. That is the total length of the dress minus the bodice will give you the length of your lower part. Okay, and that is what I'm doing here now. So I'm just marking what I need, and after marking, I'll go ahead to cut. So this is how to cut your net. Okay, if you're a beginner, that's, you want to know how to make ball dress, this is how to fold your net and you cut. Okay, so I'm cutting out the length for my net. Yeah, so now I have cut it out. So when you're making ball dress for kids, due to their length, you might have like excess net, because normally this net come in 60 inches. So by the time you have cut out one part like this, you might still have more nets. Okay, and you want to make use of that so that your ball dress will be very, very full. So I placed this one that I cut out on top of the remaining, that I can cut out more again. So when I join the both of them, I'll be having like 10 yards put together, and the dress will be very full. But by the time I placed it this way, I realized that yes, I can get this same length, but I will no longer get what I want to use at the shoulder. So I want to just make some ruffle. I want to make a little ruffle at the shoulder of that dress with net. So what I am doing is this. I want to just remove some net. Yeah, I want to cut out some and reserve it for my ruffle at the shoulder. So I would remove some and cut out the remaining that I will join to this lower part. I don't know if you understand, but sometimes in sewing, we just use our head and improvise something, and that's actually what I'm doing. So since I found out that if I cut out another part to join to this skirt part of the dress, I will not have any net remaining to make my ruffle. So I'm just removing some. I don't know if you get that. I'm just removing some, and by the time I cut out what I feel will be enough to make that ruffle, the remaining net I have here, I would add it to this skirt part. Yes, I will utilize it. I'm not just going to leave it like that. That would add a little more volume to my dress. So that is exactly what I'm doing. So I haven't removed what I need. I'm just going to cut it off. So I'm just cutting off the excess and what I need for my ruffle. Okay, so you're going to see what I'm going to do with this particular net that I'm cutting off. You're going to see what I'm going to do with it. Okay, so I've cut out, and I believe this will be enough for me. I'll put it aside. So this very one remaining now. Okay, let me explain something to you. The length is the same with the first one that I cut, but the width is not the same. I don't know if you get. The length upward, that is from the top to the lower part, is the same, but the width is not as long as this. But I'm still going to merge it up. Yes, I'm still going to merge it up and use it that way. So I'll just merge up the midpoint of this very one and the midpoint of the other one. Yes, that is just what I'm going to do. I don't know if you get it, but I'm just going to merge them up at the midpoint before going ahead to create my gathers. And later on, when I'm done, you see what I will do with it, okay? So I'm done making my gathers. So I usually use hand needle and thread to make my gathers. So I merged up the first net and the second net that I cut out, and I made my gather. So right now I'm going to place it on my satin flay. So this 180-degree flay. So I'm just going to align that gathers on this waistline. And this is what I'll do. Remember that the two nets, one is longer than the other, like from the width wise, not the length, not from the waist to the hem, but the width. You can see this, the short one didn't get to where the other one is. So this one that is short, this part would be the one that will be touching the net. That is, I will turn it inward. So it will be in, and since this is net, nobody would even know, and it is gathers. So I turned it that way. Nobody would even know that one part of the net did not reach the end. I don't know if you get, but at the end, you won't be able to tell. So this is just something I improvised myself so that I can make use of that net. It will add volume for me, and nobody would even know. So right now, I'll go ahead and merge up these gathers at the waistline of this flay. Okay, so just use your pin, arrange it. And the reason I like using needle and thread, hand needle and thread to make my gathers is that it would give me the opportunity to, handle my gathers whatever way I want. That is, I'll be able to control it just like this. I'll be able to control it. So if you use a machine to make your gathers, you can actually do that, okay? But just for me, I love using hand needle and thread. No matter how big or how long the net is, I will still sit down and make that running stitch. Yes, I've done 30 yards, not 30 inches, and I say 30 yards, 40 yards, when doing wedding gown. And you can also use gathers footer. I have it for my industrial machine, but I don't use it. I just love it when I use hand needle and thread. So it gives that control. It helped me to have control over my gathers. So this is actually what I'll do. I would, arrange these gathers at this waistline, just distributing everything evenly. You can see, just distributing everything evenly. And as I do that, I will be pinning it down. Yes, I would pin it down as I do that. So let me go ahead and do that, and you would see. Okay, so for those that have been watching my videos, you would see me. I've done this severally on this channel, but I'm still explaining it here in a detailed way, just for beginners and for those that have not watched my previous videos. So I would pin it down on this waistline, go ahead and stitch it together to the satin. Okay, let me do that. So I've stitched my net to my satin, as you can see. So it is now matched up with my satin, and I stitched by 1/2 inch. And if you look at it, you won't even see anywhere that you see the other nets and all that. You won't see it if not that I'm showing you. So I don't know if this is clear, but that is just it anyway. So we're going to now match up this. That we're now going to add it to the upper part. So the initial plan was to stitch that is to top stitch this edge of the lace on the gathers. That was the initial plan that I have, but I changed my mind also, considering the fact that at a long run, this edge of this lace might start loosening up, and it will make the dress look old and rough. So I changed my mind. Right now, I'm going to stitch it inside. This was what I wanted to achieve initially. Okay, I just wanted this lace edge to be at the top of the gathers, and it to just look this way, but I went ahead to change my mind. So right now we're going to stitch it in. Yeah, we're going to stitch it in. So let me do that. So guys, I've gone ahead to stitch it, and you can see this is beautiful. Okay, so the video has become so long. That is why I went ahead to do all this behind camera. I cut out the lining for it. I stitched hard net to the lining, and you can see the hard net is in between the lining and the satin, so it's not going to touch the baby. Okay, so right now, and you can also see the armhole, I finished it up with bias tape. Okay, so it's now time to fix our zipper and finish up this dress. So guys, I've made a video on this channel on how to finish up a ball dress so that you can achieve inseam finishing, and that is what I would quickly do right here. So like I said, the video is long already, and I don't want it to go beyond this. So we'll quickly do this. You just place your fabric in the wrong way like this. So now that very lace, the upper part, I joined the main fabric to the satin and that is the two nets separately, and I joined my lining separately. And from this video, from the way you're seeing it, you understand that everything was joined separately. So we'll fix our zipper, and this zipper will be fixed only on the main fabric. So I measured 3 inches downward from the waistline. So I'll stitch it up all the way down, and what is left, that is the opening, that is where I will now fix my zipper. Okay, so I'll just stitch it all the way down from that 3 inches that I measured, and I'll fix my zipper. After fixing my zipper on the main fabric alone, then I would close everything up using the lining so that we can have inseam finishing. So I've done series of videos on how to do this. So if you have been following me, you would know. That is why I encourage you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you not miss out on any video that I upload. Okay, so we're just going to do this fast now because the video is long already. We're just going to join our nets, join the satin to it, and close it up. Yeah, just merge up everything here, and we're going to stitch it up to that is all the way down from that 3 inches I measured. Remember, we're going to stitch it down. Okay, yeah, so just keep following, keep watching. So now I have fixed my zipper, okay, only on the main fabric, leaving the lining out of the way. So now we'll turn it to the other side. We'll turn it to the wrong side, and we're going to finish it up using the lining. You can see that the lining is still separate. Okay, so the lining is still separate, and we're going to use it to close it up. Right now, just cut out this excess part of the zipper at the top here. Cut it out. cut it out quickly. Then we're going to now flip over our lining like this. Just flip it over, and we're going to stitch it. So just stitch it down up to where the zipper ends. So when you're stitching, make sure you're stitching close to the zipper so that you just pick everything in. You're stitching close to the zipper teeth. So you stitch it up to where the zipper ends. That's where you stitched up your zipper. Then you close up the rest of the lining. So let me do that. So after closing it up with the lining, this is what we have. You can see the inner part of our dress is just neat and everything is in seam. Nothing is touching the baby. There's no roughness, no hardness touching the baby. Everything is in seam. So this is simply how to go about it. And our dress is full. So if you notice, my lining is a bit shorter than the main fabric. That is how it should be, because your lining shouldn't be poking out from the underneath. Okay. So we are turning it to the good side. So you see what we have. And it will be time for me to add the ruffle at the shoulder. So let me do that. So for my ruffle, I just got the remaining part of the net, folded it, and I just cut out something. So what I'm going to do here is not like a standard thing or any serious thing. So I'm just folding the rest part of net that I have. So I shared it into two so that I can have for the two shoulders. Okay, and I folded it, just folding anyhow. This is something that anybody can actually do. So I just want to like make, you know, a ruffle there. So just watch what I'm going to do. Okay, so to have idea of what I would cut, I measured the shoulder. So I just measured the shoulder to see how, that is to just know the width of my ruffle. So this will just give me idea of what I should cut from my net. So I just folded the net based on that measurement and I went ahead to cut it. So I have cut it out based on the measurement, and this is just what I want to do. Just want to bring it together using running stitch, okay? And later on, we'll just arrange it whichever way. So let me also cut out the same thing from this other net for the other shoulder. So now, after cutting my net, I'm going to use my hand needle and thread and make a running stitch. So I'm just tacking it down at this point so that the thread will not pull out while I am, you know, making my running stitch and pulling at it. So I'm just tacking it down there. I'll go ahead and make my stitch, my running stitch. So after tacking, I've started making my running stitch. So I'm just, you know, just making running stitch and I'm aligning my net. Okay, so while I do that, I just align my net and I just stitch like that. So after stitching it, I pull it and this is what I have. Okay, so this is what I'm going to place at the shoulder of the dress, just like this. So nothing really serious about this. Then when I place it there, I'll tack it down there and I would, you know, just adjust it whichever way I want and trim out any unwanted nets. So that's what I'll do, okay? And while I do this, I also consider the neck of the baby. So I don't want this net to be scratching her at the neck, okay? So I'm just tacking up my ruffle so that it would stay in place. So, and I'll then tack it on the shoulder, okay, like that. So I'll do same for the other side. Then I'll trim out whatever excess that I have. So I'm just trying to see whichever way it will stay and still look beautiful. Okay, like I said, I'm also considering the neck of the baby. I don't want this to be touching her neck and scratching her there. So right now I'll just tack it down here and I'll do same for the other one. So after tacking it down, this is what I have. Okay, now I'll just try to spread out my net so that the ruffle will look, you know, bigger, and when someone sees it, won't even know what I did there. Yes, so I'll just do that, spread it out, trim out any uneven edge, and you'll see the final look of this dress. So keep watching and don't forget to give this video a like. So I'm actually trimming off this side because of the neck of the baby, so it won't get too close to the neck, and at the same time trying to even it out so it will be beautiful as well. So let's finish it up. Okay. And guys, this is the final look of this dress. I hope this is beautiful. Give it a like. Give it a like. So this is what it would have looked like if it had sleeves. So now tell me in the comment section which is better. For me, I believe the two are still beautiful. With or without sleeve, the dress is beautiful. But I had a reason for removing the sleeve. So in this very picture, I just fixed it there, okay, to see what it would look like. But I didn't stitch it. So give this video a like. And if you haven't subscribed up to this moment, I wonder what you're waiting for. Hit on that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so that whenever I upload a new video, you will receive that notification that I have uploaded a video. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Remain blessed.